Okay, it looks like we got most people in from the waiting room and on YouTube. So good afternoon and welcome to the San Diego Mesa College Campus Community Forum. As you can tell, I am not President Luster. President Luster is at a community meeting right now and will join us as soon as she can. But I'm Lorenze Legaspi. I'm the proud Vice President of Administrative Services for the college, and I will help kick off the meeting. Today we have an exciting program, and we will be talking about the Build with Mesa Buddies program, and excited to share more about that. But first, we'll have some quick updates from myself and the other two vice presidents for the college. So to start off, I want to thank everyone that attended the Chancellor's Forum yesterday. The Chancellor helped set the context for what our current and upcoming semester will look like. And those items and considerations include the state and district budget challenges, social unrest, and to how to support anti-racism, upcoming presidential and local elections the Chancellor talked about, and all within the context of COVID-19 pandemic. And so the Chancellor expressed, though there are a lot of challenges this semester and upcoming for the foreseeable future, the Chancellor expressed her confidence at us here at Mesa that we can come together to address all of these challenges as we go. Another thing going on at the college is we are engaged in Mesa 2030, which is our educational and facilities master plan, and we are well underway for our fall semester. There are department and school interviews that are going on now, and so be on the lookout for those invitations and also for forthcoming surveys as another avenue for input to share your ideas on how Mesa will look like in 2030. And these campus surveys will be sent to the entire campus community, faculty, classified professionals, administrators, supervisors, students, and our community members as well. And so again, this is our opportunity along with the interviews to get our thoughts on what Mesa will look like in 10 years. And with that, I would like to invite our Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Ashanti Hands, to give some updates on student services. Dr. Hands.
Thank you, Lorenze. Hello, everyone. So excited to see or know that people are here joining us in this space. I'm very excited about today's presentation. Any chance I get, I just want to remind people that Student Services is still serving our students in very innovative, creative, and traditional ways. So just wanted to give you a few updates on some things that are taking place this week. We are still very much interested in making sure that our students have information about voting, that they are registered to vote. So we have voter registration week. This week, information has been sent out. If students have questions on how to complete their voter registration form, what it means, we are going to be answering questions all week. We are hosting our Undocu Ally training. So this will help our faculty and staff to create spaces for undocumented AB 540 dreamers, DACA students, or students from mixed status families. And so it's a wonderful training, a lot of great resources and an opportunity to learn and ask a lot of questions. We are still hosting our Fall Club Rush. It started today. So please encourage your students who are looking for opportunities to engage and to connect with others to check out the clubs. They are, I think, in about 15-20 minute increments. They're available to answer questions and to sign up. And so we really want our students to continue to engage because our clubs are still active. We are happy to work with Student Health Services and provide free flu shots for our students. And so this is done by appointment. So please encourage students to sign up. We have several dates throughout November planned and enough shots for all students who are interested to receive them. An email was sent earlier about our CARES and United Way grant applications. So students can receive up to $500 for our CARES Act and up to $200 for our United Way grant applications. The applications are very, we tried to make them easy to complete and fill out. Does not take a lot of time. So please encourage students who have needs or have been impacted by COVID-19 to sign up for the grants. We are also doing some very interesting things to help students with their mental health. So I love that our Next Step in EOPS program is offering the Holistic Student Series. And so they have an upcoming series that's going to focus on sunlight and mental health and the importance of getting out. So we're trying to really figure out ways to connect with students' mind, body, and soul. Transfer Center is doing a lot. We have our UC tag agreement workshops. We have private school transfer week workshops. We just did CSU workshops. Do you get it? We're doing workshops on transfer. We want to help our students to transfer. There are a lot of resources and services. Counseling just released Black and African American student career resources. Our career office did. And the last thing that I wanted to highlight is that the Loft shared information for the entire Mesa College community, including students, to be able to sign up and attend for free an event this Saturday at 11 o'clock. It's called Reform or Dismantle, Beyond Diagnosing Racism. The panel is amazing. It's Dr. Cornell West, Dr. Joy DeGrue, and Dr. Michael Eric Dyson. And so again, tickets would normally cost $35. I believe the President Luster and the Loft worked together to provide up to perhaps 100 students to be, 100 seats for our community members to be able to attend. So check your email, look for something from the Loft. And if you are interested, the deadline to sign up for this is going to be on Thursday, this Thursday at 12 noon. So as you know, I could go on and on and on talking about all the amazing things, but I'm going to leave it there because I want to hear more about our Buddies program. So thanks for listening. Encourage our students to engage, and we look forward to partnering with you to help create the conditions that matter for our students to succeed. Thanks, Lorenze.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Hands. And up next, I'd like to invite our Vice President of Instruction, Dr. Isabel O'Connor, to give some updates about what's going on in instruction. And then from there, Dr. O'Connor, if you don't mind transitioning to the Build with Mesa Buddies program.
We'll do that happily. Buenas tardes a todos. How are you? Anyway, very briefly, what else is new in instruction but our hardworking chairs and deans continue to work on the intercession, and yes, we're having a small one, and spring schedule, which is due on October 2nd. As you heard yesterday from our chancellor, we do have some budget challenges. So once again, my deepest appreciation for the hard work and professionalism of our chairs and deans. And speaking of chairs and deans, I am just so happy to let you know that chairs, deans, and I are going to have a joint meeting using the chair's time on October 28th. That's the right date. And not only is it going to be a joint meeting, but we have invited Natalia Alarcon from the district office, who is developing an enrollment management dashboard to actually share the draft with our group. So I'm really looking forward to that joint meeting. The other thing is we are already beginning, as we finalize the schedule for intercession and spring, we're beginning to develop a list of items that we need in terms of student kits for their courses or software or hardware. So we will, once again, the deans will be reaching out to chairs and faculty, collecting information on what the needs are, and then we'll go from there. I just want to offer a little clarification of a little something that I think it's important to clarify. We've been using a lot of terminology. We're teaching remote. Well, I'm going to quote Andrew Hoffman here, or he comes to mind anyway. We're teaching remotely. That's the adverb. Remote is not a distance ed category in Title V or recognized by the ACCJC. Remotely is the physical removal from the campus. We have categories of DE that don't include that. So any course that we offer in the spring, and you already know that, and our faculty of Mesa have done a fabulous job already putting a lot of proposals together. Anything that we offer has to have some DE designator. And the last thing is that we are getting close to early October. And that is, of course, the date we hope to hear from the state agency whether we can actually play sports or not in the spring. If we can, we are already working with Vice President Legaspi and his fabulous team, Jacqueline, Marco, etc., to figure out how can we have some conditioning classes in the intersession. The last thing we want is our student athletes to come back just for the spring with no training after so many months. So if we hear it's a yay, we're going to move forward with lots of great planning as we did in other areas. And we're all hoping for a better spring in that sense. I'm happy to answer any questions. And I don't know if we're asking questions or not, but you can always reach me. And otherwise, I am more than happy. I'm actually thrilled to introduce to you the next presentation. And I have a little part in it, and I am just jumping for joy to the point that I'll get there. But without any more nonsense from me, here's our fabulous team of faculty leads, Katie and Cara, and I want to acknowledge Dean McNeil as well. We're going to walk us through what I think is an award-winning professional development program for the summer. So here they are.
Thank you,
Okay.
Isabel. Hi, everybody. Let me share my screen and remember to share my audio as well. Hopefully you see our slides popping up here. And let me get those into presentation mode. Thank you so much for making space for us to share about Build with Mesa Buddies in this community forum. If there is a theme for this presentation, we're calling it "It Takes a Village." So you'll see that hashtag throughout the presentation because it really has taken a village, and I think that will be evident today. So just a brief agenda of what we kind of have planned for sharing Build with Mesa Buddies is the first part. I'm going to share with you what is the course overview of Build with Mesa Buddies. So we're extremely familiar with it, but we realize a lot of folks are not. And so we're going to take some time to share with you what Build with Mesa Buddies is and was and will be. And then in part 2, we'll have a buddies conversation. So you're likely seeing some of our buddies participants, cameras on there. We've got some panelist participants from our program who are going to share their perspectives and their experiences. And then we'll jump back into the slides and talk about what's ahead. So there will be a section in our buddies conversation for the Q&A, and that's probably the best place to ask your questions. So there will be a time for that. And here's where I think I get to hand it back over to you, Isabel.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, so when Katie showed us the first draft, I said, well, we need to define what Build with Mesa Buddies is. And here's what it is. It's a Mesa-specific companion to our district's DE certification course. As you know, when we filled addenda after addenda to send to the state, part of what we had to send was a professional development program and efforts to make sure that we supported faculty in this DE environment. So this is a special one because it offers Mesa faculty an opportunity to shape the content, and it also offers Mesa faculty compensation, and the best part of it, extra hands-on support as they develop their own online classes. I get to say, next. Hey. Okay, so what are the course overviews and goals? Again, the first thing was to support the completion of the district's DE certification. It goes with the remote teaching that we are, remotely location teaching that we are in, and with the fact that most of our offerings are DE. So we wanted to provide professional development. But here's the heart of it. And I always share a little story. In the spring, I had the pleasure of spending many Friday afternoons with faculty and deans and others across campus, planning what would be the fall schedule and the fall semester, and how would we support instruction, which was our main goal. Well, it was in that conversation that Terry Kohlenberg said he was taking the DE certification program at the district, and wouldn't it be great if everybody taking that program, we would have the same option that he did, which was to have colleagues like Howard Eskew and Chris Sullivan say, hey, here's how you do this. So that's the buddy concept. And that is where it was born, right? Support course development efforts by connecting to buddies, connecting colleagues at Mesa who have great DE experience with others who are in the learning process. And it is really about learning. And the last thing is that this program really provides a humanized online course experience to faculty who are new to online. So it is a brilliant piece of collaborative work, and you're about to be in awe. Katie, back to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so here's kind of the breakdown of buddies and mentees across Mesa College in Mesa colors. So you can see we had about 65 mentees. That's what we're calling our participants, our students, if you will, our newbies, and then 27 buddies. In blue, you can see that those buddies were really across several of the schools of our college, which was great. We also, of course, had participants. We had mentees across all of the schools of our college as well. So for the most part, we were able to pair up. Actually, it wasn't really a pair, but we were able to match up the buddies with their mentees in their same school. In some cases, like in business and technology and humanities, we had more buddies than we needed. And so we were able to leverage their expertise over in the schools that didn't have buddies. So for the most part, folks were linked up with someone, sometimes in their same department, at least, or else, if not in their same school. And then if not, we had some cases where we had to leverage across schools like this. So this should give you a pretty good kind of overview of what our participants looked like. The course timeline was 9 weeks. So we started in June 15th, we ended on August 14th. And this kind of gives you a graphic representation of what the course entailed. We started with buddy blastoffs. This is what the little rocket icon means. So that was our synchronous. We had 5 synchronous kickoff sessions. Essentially, that's what those were, where we were able to, do an orientation and get some energy around starting together. Each of the red flags represents a buddy benchmark. So those were assignments that our participants had to complete week by week. So they were online students completing weekly assignments. Those were very similar to the requirements for the district cert course. So we tried to really align those so that buddies really was a companion course to the cert. So they weren't doing a whole lot of extra work, but really just finding the extra support and resources for completing the cert. For folks who had already completed the buddy benchmarks and maybe weren't as new to online, we had what were called deep dives for them. So these were, kind of bigger projects that they could choose to work on for their online course design as well. So kicked off weekly benchmarks and deep dives, stuff that overlapped with the cert course. And then we ended it with a community share out. So we had folks in their final project record videos that we can use to share, and you'll see one of those today. So, and you'll also see a little peek at one of our blast offs. So that's kind of as an overview what we did. And here's the text version of that same thing. You can see the actual buddy benchmarks that were completed week by week by week. And then the deep dives that faculty also had the opportunity to explore, an orientation module, a welcome kit, authentic assessment, engagement, or an OER content page. So those were the requirements due by August 14th. That date was the Friday before the Monday of fall start. So these guys were doing such amazing work during that flex week when things were so crazy, and the timing of that was probably not ideal, but there was compensation that we offered. And so participants could choose from half an ESU, 1 credit towards salary advancement, or flex. And shout out to Eva and Kathy for helping with this process. Again, it takes a village. And for anyone listening who was a part of Buddies and they're saying, hey, I finished, but I didn't get that half an ESU yet, it's because we've been told that October 10th is the date that those ESUs are going to get processed by district. So I'm sure there's a few of you saying, oh, that's right, I didn't receive that yet. That's the story there. Okay, so buddies, think of buddies as these like clusters of support, right? So it wasn't a one-to-one relationship. We had an experienced DE faculty kind of in the middle of others who needed more support. And we didn't really prescribe what that looked like up front. We allowed each of these, we called them kind of buddy clusters, to decide how they wanted to go about that. So some of them were using Pronto, some of them were using email, some of them were using Canvas groups. But essentially they were supporting on buddy benchmarks, on the CERT course, and or on deep dives. And so that was like helping them through whatever they needed to complete the course. Buddies also had weekly office hours over the summer. And so that was another way for that support conversation to happen. So I mentioned that we started with buddy blast-offs. These were the synchronous kickoffs in Zoom. So we blasted off and all of the buddies as a part of this were asked to do like a 5 to 10 minute show and tell, something that they thought that the participants could benefit from seeing in their course. And so all of these are queued up in our Loft YouTube channel. If you go to bit.ly/buddy blastoffs, that is our Loft YouTube channel where we have saved all of these awesome recordings. So now we have a library of really great show and tells from DE faculty that are now available to everybody. So one of them, I just wanted to show a really short clip of one of them from Professor Colby, where just so you can kind of get a taste of what these buddy blast-offs were like. So I'm gonna play just the first minute or so of this video, and I'll turn on captions as well.
Okay, so I want to actually talk more about asynchronous teaching, which I think is a really good contrast to some of the things we've been talking about so far. And actually watching Jen's presentation, I think if you think about what Jen's presentation was and how she set up her course, I'm going to show you like almost an exact opposite, because I think it is really important to think about whether you're teaching synchronously, which is, in the online teaching world, we call it synchronous. I know in Mesa, we're calling it remote. So remote teaching versus, what are we calling it? Web teaching. So asynchronous versus synchronous. And the reason why I think it's really important to really think about which type of course you're going to be teaching and how you set up your course is that synchronous courses, you're guiding your students a lot more. You're meeting with them weekly. You're having those faces. Either you've already taken the district certification or you're in the process.
So I kind of skipped ahead there just so you could see that they kind of all started out with a conversation like that, which was nice. And then jumped into, in this case, Stevie doing a show and tell of how she designs her modules in Canvas. So then, our participants had that expertise to really learn from with each of those buddies. Okay, so that was our synchronous blast-off starts. And then we had asynchronous discussions. So here's a screenshot, which is likely hard to see, but a screenshot of Blythe, who's on our panel today, and myself and Kelly, Dora. So we shared ideas over time, right? Your asynchronous discussion board where stuff got posted over time about sharing ideas and different tools to try. But a lot of our interaction was really happening over time like that for asynchronous, sorry. Okay, and then I mentioned also the buddies office hours. So each of our buddies had weekly synchronous office hours at various times throughout the week. So if a participant really wanted that synchronous interaction, they had a whole bunch of buddies to drop into for their to get that synchronous support during the week. This was also a good chance if they had seen something in a buddy blast off. This was also a good chance for them to drop in and see, talk to the buddy who had presented that and get more information about it and so on. And then also shout out to Todd for his virtual lab hours. He had amazing support available to our buddies and continues to support our online faculty. So shout out to Todd for making himself available for synchronous support as well. Okay, faculty were online students during a pandemic. So they submitted and resubmitted assignments. Here's an email that I got from a participant. Someone might look like this might be familiar to you guys. Did you see my week 4 redo on icebreakers? I'm late on week 6 working on that today. So faculty got feedback, right? They were able to resubmit and they learned what it felt like to be online students during a pandemic. And I thought this little message kind of demonstrated that well. This was their final buddy benchmark, was that presentation to peers. So here's that share out that I mentioned before. Part 1 was to do a show and tell video, and part 2 was to do a reflection. Here is a piece of Christina Crosby's from our Department of Psychology, a piece of her final share out video.
So for this, I decided not to use Zoom because I'll be conducting my courses asynchronously, and I wanted more practice with my new kind of video editing software that I've been getting used to this summer. And so I couldn't think of just one thing to focus on. We learned so much over the summer. And so instead, I've decided that what I'll do is actually just show you my course that I've built, how I've set it up and structured it, and discuss how that's changed compared to the spring by incorporating things that I've learned over the summer. So we can start by taking a look at this. I'll be in student view to get an idea of what students will see. So this is the homepage, which has changed a lot. Before I had a lot of information that I was providing to students on the homepage, but now you can see I have just the course title. I still have like an opening quote to kind of just gauge that.
So you get a feel for what those final presentations were like. She kind of takes us through the changes that she made in her course over the summer. And all of those show and tells are also on our Loft YouTube playlist. So if you go to bit.ly/Loft shareouts, that's where we collected the ones that were on YouTube. And I think that's a cool way of continuing to share out our professional learning. Okay, so we had 55 buddy completions. So there were 65 that started with us, 55 that finished the buddies requirements, 37 completed the certificate from district DE certificate. And so not everyone was pursuing the certificate, and some folks had already gotten the certificate. And so the good news is that everybody who completed buddies is well on their way because they've already completed so many of the certificate requirements. And here's a cool quote from Walker. She received her certificate, that was back in July. And so she was celebrating on the discussion board there. It was fun. So it wasn't perfect. There's certainly lessons learned first time through. This was a very large cohort. There were lots of long discussions. We had 100 people in there for buddies plus mentees. So those discussions became pretty unwieldy at times. 2 tracks overwhelmed our new to online participants. So because we had folks that were not new to online, that was a little overwhelming to our newbies. Reinforced the communication channels between buddies and participants. So while we didn't prescribe anything, we thought maybe there's a way that we can kind of more intentionally build that communication channel. And then include information on remote teaching. So teaching in Zoom, that wasn't part of our modules. It wasn't part of our programming, but we heard from our participants that it should have been. And so we're looking at how to support more teaching in Zoom. And of course, these were, this was based on feedback from our participants and then feedback that we're incorporating into Buddies #2 planning. And with that, I'm going to stop my screen share. And here's where it gets way more fun because it's not just going to be me talking to you through slides. I'm going to stop the share. And I think here, Cara, I'm going to pass it over to you to maybe have the panelists introduce themselves, if that works.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks for those slides. I'm Cara Smulovitz. I'm a professor of art history and also the online faculty mentor. And I worked with Katie on facilitating the Buddies class this summer. And we've gotten together a great group of people who participated. And they're all going to answer some questions through a little game we've planned. But first, I just wanted them to each introduce themselves. So I'll ask you each to just say what your discipline is, what your role was in the Buddies class, just some brief words about that. So can we start with Blythe?
Yep. Hello, everybody. My name is Blythe Barton, and I am dance faculty here at Mesa College. I'm full-time faculty, one of 2 in our dance program, and I was a mentee. So now this fall, I am teaching dance history as a lecture course, as well as 4 dance movement courses via Zoom. So that is an adventure every day. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Blythe. And Chip?
Oh, hi, I'm Chip Lancaster. So I'm in math, so I teach algebra. And the Mesa Buddies thing really helped me out. So in the spring, it was a steep learning curve because we went from just regular classroom to online. But then in the fall, over the summer and into the fall, it was maybe even a steeper learning curve because I had never used Canvas before. So now I had to learn how to do that in addition to doing the Zoom.
Yes, many people can relate there. It's definitely rough. Thank you, Chip. Walker, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, after I give thanks to Katie and to you. I'm from child development. Sorry, my emotions. I got a lot of things going on. But anyway, it was really good. I would recommend this to anyone, any teacher. It completely, I think Chip said it, it gave you a different course, my aspect of online was that, oh, they got it easy. No, it's like the Native American saying it's walk a mile in my moccasin. And it was a big, huge help for me. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Walker. And Donna Cecil?
Hi, I'm Donna Cecil. I'm an adjunct professor in child development, and I was a buddy. And it was an amazing experience, and I was so honored to be asked. And I had incredible mentees.
And Takima? Oh, unmute, Takima.
Hi, everybody. My name is Takima Mayasa. I have the absolute pleasure of being chair of the Black Studies Department. And I was asked to be a buddy, and it was an amazing experience. I had used Canvas, the independent version of Canvas, and being a part of the buddy system really helped me to home in on a lot of different tools and things like that in a very different kind of way while being a mentor. So I really appreciate that opportunity.
Thank you. And Alessandra?
Buenas tardes. Hello, I'm Alessandra Moctezuma, and I'm a professor in fine arts. I teach museum studies, and I run the art gallery, and I also teach. And I just want to send a virtual hug to Ella, because I know it's hard time right now for everybody. But it was a really wonderful experience. I took the distance education certification earlier in the year, but the buddies, as a participant in the buddies program, it really helped me feel more comfortable as I was getting ready to prepare my classes for the fall semester.
Wonderful. And I think Denise.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all, or at least some of you. Anyway, when I'm Denise Rogers, I'm also a professor in fine arts. I teach art history, and I was a buddy, and Alessandra, we worked together, helping to develop courses along with 2 other art faculty. And so it was a wonderful experience to be able to have that dialogue with others. And I had been teaching online, but still the transition with everything else that was going on at times, still going on. It helped to have that support and to be able to bounce ideas off of everyone. So I appreciated the experience.
I think that is all of our panelists from Buddies. I'm just going to give one moment for if I missed somebody. So sorry about that.
Someone's calling in. Someone else wants to be a panelist.
Apparently.
I think we're good.
We're good? Okay, good. So we'll move to the Q&A.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen again, and that's where we get to see this new tool. Hopefully the controls are not in the way. I heard that my controls down here were in the way on YouTube, so hopefully they're not in the way right now. This is a tool called Flippity. If you go to flippity.net, you don't have to, but this is just where you can go to get some of these kind of game-like tools. They work with Google Sheets, and we thought this might be a fun way to structure a conversation with the participants here on our panel. The one that we're using is called the randomizer. And so what happens is you can have separate columns here with like different, text in each column. And it's going to let me spin either just the name, or you can spin just the question, or you can spin both the name and the question. She said yes. And it's not always Mesa colors. I just refreshed it enough times that it finally came up to be Mesa colors. So I thought I'd stick with this. But yeah, one of the questions in this spinner is questions from the audience typed into Q&A. So what we'll do is, as you guys have questions, our audience, go ahead and type them into the Zoom Q&A. And then once we land on this of our spinner, then we'll be able to pull one from there and see if it makes sense for the person who just got, whose turn it is. Does that make sense? So I think we'll go ahead and spin and then kind of get the conversation started from there. Here we go. Da, 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 da. Makes it very exciting. Walker has our first question.
Walker, I'm going to read this out to make sure that everybody hears it. So the question for you is, how can we continue to build community while working and learning remotely?
Well, I'm going to answer that in a religious type. When God made Adam, people say he was only making the draft, which means to me, you guys did perfectly well at the beginning. I was so thrilled with this particular show. If I was to change a little bit, it'd be hard for me to say what to continue to build upon, because you guys did so well. Why break something to redo it? I would say keep it like it is with maybe some new stuff. But to change totally, no. Okay.
Okay.
One little addition to that question. So that's great feedback on how we who are designing the course can change it. But I kind of think this question works for like our whole community too. So just something to keep in our heads for when it comes up again. We also want to hear about how can our whole community keep building community, even though we're all separate. So if you wanted to add something on that, Walker, you could, or we'll just wait for it to come up again.
Well, once again, it goes back to your saying of the village. It takes a village. Mm-hmm. When a village is working together, you're going to have very good villages. When they don't work together, once again, as far as working together, I was amazed how many different departments you guys invited. It was overwhelming, guys. So no change for me.
Thank you for that. Okay, should we spin?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I will spin. Walker, do you want me to spin just the names so that someone else gets the same question? Or do you want me to spin both your name and the question?
I would say the names. Let's change the names.
All right, well, then let's see who else wants to answer this question. Denise.
So Denise, we get the same question.
I got distracted by something that Chris Sullivan wrote in the Q&A, and I thought that would be a perfect response to this question. How do we continue to build community while working and learning remotely? I think expanding it to students is an excellent idea, because I have a lot of students in my class, and you all know, they come in, they've never taken a class online. They have difficulty navigating a computer system, any type of computer system. And I notice I spend a lot of time answering just, tech questions. I try in my class to set up a way for students to communicate with one another, and also during Zoom sessions to communicate with one another, just on some basic, navigating the course. So Chris, thank you for saving for posting that there. I didn't have to go up with anything else. But honestly, I think that's an excellent idea, because a lot of students are saying, I've never taken an online class before, but they are part of our community. I mean, it's not just us, it's us students, faculty, staff, administrators. So we build that part of the community, it affects the rest of the community. We all benefit from that.
There was also a spin-off kind of conversation during buddies, I think with the math department, on how they could have buddies like inside of their own class, like people like taking turns being buddies to each other or something too. So kind of that same way of like intentionally building community, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, and just to add one more thing, I think I said this in the introduction, our department meets once a week. And so I think that's something that I really enjoy and I benefit from that. And so I'd like to keep that going as well, because it helps to strengthen our department. Mm-hmm. So just to add one other.
Okay,
I'm done.
Denise, do you want me to spin names, or should we swap out the question and do the whole thing?
Why don't we do both?
Yeah. Okay, Donna.
So Donna, the question you get is, what was your biggest takeaway from Build with Mesa Buddies?
There were a few takeaways. I think the best one goes back to our first question about community. Because I got to work so closely with faculty that I might not otherwise get to know well, we as a department, because all of my mentees were in our department, we became a stronger department. and communicated with those who weren't participating in buddies. We had little coffee clutches during the summer because we were having fun getting together. We discussed, how do we want to change as a department? What is our focus? Why are we teaching what we're teaching? Why are we doing these assignments? Are they relevant? So we got to do some deep dives, to borrow from buddies, on what does it look like for our students in our department? Because we are child development, our students currently cannot work with children, which is huge. They're not allowed into the centers. So we really were thoughtful and reflected on what else can we do? How else can we prepare them? What are some takeaways? So we really, within our department, built a bigger community. We have email threads that we're still continuing. We have text threads via our cell phones that we're having. That was my biggest takeaway. And I got to meet other faculty outside of my department that I would not normally. But I do think the course itself really set that match to that flame of building community within Mesa College, which we're the biggest campus. It's almost impossible to build small communities or a larger community. So I think that was the biggest takeaway.
Thank you, Donna. I love that. And I heard versions of that from a lot of our participants, that they felt more connected, even though we were all in our own separate houses, than they ever had when we were on campus, which was such a nice surprise during a pandemic. All right, should we spin it?
Donna, do you want me to spin name or both?
Oh, let's spin both.
Takima is up.
Yes, Takima, you got a fun one. So what part of campus do you miss the most? Oh, I think you're muted.
So I think the part of campus that I miss the most is the personal interaction that we would generally be able to participate in. But I'm also, what I also miss though is the breaks, because I do think that part of being online is like being like 24/7. Like, you know, we're like, I think of a drugstore that we're open 24 hours. And even though we're at home, there's not a stop time and a start time. And when we walk to meetings, or when we walk to the cafeteria, or we will walk to places, there's a different kind of communing that happens. So I do miss that. And I also miss being able to do that with students, because I think the relationship building that happens on campus, it's taking a different form, but I'm also open and realize that we have to just find a different way to do that. So I think the program, I know that the program, and I agree with Denise wholeheartedly, that if we need to find a way to build it so that students can get some of the same benefits, not just with themselves, but also maybe buddy the students with professors. Or vice versa, because there's some students who really know how to navigate this stuff. And we need to give them an opportunity to teach us more too. I know, because I know I'm learning a lot from some of my students who say, well, do it like this and do it like that. So I think this whole idea of changing our mindset about our relationships is what this has fostered.
That's a really thoughtful answer. Thank you. I was going to say the student restaurant, but I like your answer much better. I also miss the student restaurant, but it's those casual conversations with students that we're trying to replicate, right? And I think that those are some good suggestions for how we can make it happen. So should we spin just the name, Takima, or should we ask someone else the same question? I think Katie, just go for it.
Oh, okay. I can't see videos, so.
Spin the question, spin the question.
Oh, hold on, let me do that one again. It's like stop, okay, there we go. Ooh, we have a question from the audience. Is there a question from the audience that we can take?
So far we just have the same question that Denise addressed from Chris Sullivan.
Okay.
So let's give it
Anyone else?
a spin.
Yeah, let's give it another spin. In the meantime, someone from the audience, give us another question. So next time that one pops up. Here we go.
So this one's for Alessandra. So the question here is, how can we continue improving our online teaching?
Well, I really appreciated everything that I learned about utilizing different types of technology, such as this, Flippity, Padlet, different ways that we can make it interesting and varied for the students, so that, because I think there's wonderful tools that we can use. And I really enjoyed learning about, I'm a kind of techie, so I really enjoyed learning about all of those tools and how to make our videos, screencast and editing. So as we become more proficient, I think that we can improve our courses, and we can also adapt it to students who have different types of learners. You know, some are more visual, some are more analytical, some it's more auditory. So I think learning all of those different tools and technology can help us improve our courses. And also, I think that you did an excellent job in how we humanize online teaching. And as I'm teaching actually synchronously on Zoom, but I've realized that the discussions have been a wonderful way to have the students get to know each other and make them comfortable with talking to each other. And that also, I think, makes it easier when we meet on Zoom, you know, to have that nice collaboration in the Zoom classroom too. So those are things that we could continue doing.
Just for to expand on one term in there, Alessandra. So when you're saying humanizing, I know we use that a lot in Buddies class, but what does that mean for you? So what does the humanized online class mean?
Well, I think that sometimes you think that online teaching is like almost, you know, like there's a robot and you're just like going through the motions, and, you know, the quizzes are being graded automatically. So you might have this sense that you're not engaging in a relationship with either the students or the professor. And I think that's very wrong. I think there's so many ways in that I felt encouraged, both by my buddies in the discussions, but also by Denise or the other people who were commenting on our projects. And humanizing also means that you share, we did a lot of discussions where we shared personal pictures and stories about our pets. And so you get to know the student as a person, as opposed to just somebody who's, you know, taking the test or doing the projects. And I think you did an excellent job. And that's something that enriches the experience for everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Alessandra, should we ask that same question to someone else, or should we switch the question?
Why don't we ask the same question to somebody else?
I can do that. It's a click of a button. Oh, somebody wants me to answer again. Your answer was so good. Here, let's try again. Blythe.
So same question for Blythe. How can we continue improving our online teaching?
Well, I think firstly, I'm taking notes as we talk right now. So this kind of continued engagement in these conversations and continually absorbing information from the wealth of those that are just learning, as well as the buddy systems. And that was one of my big takeaways too. So I'm kind of like dual purposing here. But what I was thinking of continuing is not getting in a rut with education. I think that taps into the continual finding of new tools. One thing that I'm doing right now is relating content to current events. So like what is fresh in my life, what might be fresh in my students' life. I'm planning a module on hip hop dance that ties right into Black Lives Matter and protest as in a dance form. So really trying to continually reinvent my own content delivery to make absorption easy and exciting for students. I'm also really interested in student and peer feedback and the Buddies format really gave that opportunity to have continual feedback in discussions, share what you're working on, and then getting feedback from the whole entourage, as well as targeted feedback from Buddies and from Katie and Cara. So listening and hearing and making those adjustments, I think, for continual evolution. Yeah, I think that was, and student feedback too. I'm really, they're catching typos for me. They're telling me links don't work. They're sharing experiences from other classes. So, taking that like deep in it experience and trying different strategies. So if I'm not reaching out to students, or if someone's not showing up to ballet week after week, engaging with them and creating new strategies so that they might want to plie with me in the mornings. Yeah.
I want to plie with you in the mornings.
Me too.
It's good. Good. Yeah.
Wonderful. And I think, Takima, you wanted to weigh in on that same question?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to add something. I think that when it comes to improving online teaching, that this has forced us to be in a truly equal status, right? Just what Blythe was saying. We have the opportunity to learn from students, but I think that we are students and teachers at the same time. And that's what I heard with Blythe, what you were saying. Well, yeah, we're conducting this. We're not just the experts of the content. We're being students of the learning process, how to make the learning process better, and truly having the opportunity for our students to bring us along, because they are native digital learners, growing up on this stuff. And so they're teaching us in that regard. And if we're open to that, I think it'll be a better learning experience. So this virtual learning experience is not just us teaching them. We all are learning through this. And if we can see it that way, then we'll get through it better. And so we can release the fears, not only on their end, but our end too. And if I could just piggyback on what Alexandra just said, was that, as part of that learning process with the students in terms of the humanizing, when the students see that we're human too, that we're going through the struggle too, that we can empathize with their struggle, right? Because as Blythe just said, oh, there's typos, there is this, there is that. And so then it's not as rigid, right? That there's rigor. Rigor is the challenge. And if I could just add one more thing, is people, I think, confuse quality education with convenience. And for a long time, we've had the convenience of just going in the classroom and doing our thing, blah, blah, blah. And for a long time, people have said, well, online is just, it's not good quality. You know what? It was a very humbling experience. And so I tell my veteran teachers all the time, I have the utmost respect for you, because there's a lot that goes into this. And there's a lot that goes into the maintenance of it. So I think it's really challenging us to be better instructors and educators, because we're learning more than the content of expertise. We're learning how to be better content, providers as well, in terms of the learning experience.
Yes, indeed. Another way that this goes back to the takes a village theme that Katie mentioned at the beginning. Absolutely. Should we try another spin?
Yeah, I'm gonna spin it, see if we can. Spinner is kind of lazy all of a sudden. It landed back where we were before. Here, let me try this one again. By the way, just as an FYI with Flippity, you can take people out of the spinner. So if you were using this with students and you wanted, only the students who hadn't answered, you could take some of the questions and stuff out of the spinner, which is also kind of fun. Let's see, there we go. That was a good spin.
This is a good question too. I really like this question. So this one's for Denise. What do you see as a myth about online teaching?
I think Takima just answered that question. I mean, there was this these preconceived ideas that you just set everything up and you just let it go, and then you sit back and just watch it all play out. That's not the case at all. And being on your computer 10, 12, 15 hours a day is common. always checking content, making sure your content is relevant and relatable and accessible for students. I think the idea is, I know some publishers have packages that you can purchase. It may not fit with what you want to focus on in class. It takes like creativity to design modules that are going to communicate the content and resonate with students the way you want it to. And it takes a while. You can't just transfer what you do in the classroom onto online, but some of those tools come with you, but you have to put yourself in the seat of the student and try to predict how it's going to land when they open up that computer. But it is, the myth is that, it's easy. You just sit back and let it go. That is not the case. That is not the case at all. So thank you, Takima, for bringing that up. And I'll add one more thing. I like the balance of teaching on campus and online. And even though I had been teaching online for quite a while, having all of my classes online is overwhelming. It is. And so it just reminded me how much it takes, how much effort it takes for an online class. But that's the myth.
Can I contribute something to that? Can I say something?
Yes. Whose voice am I hearing?
Chip.
That's Chip.
Oh, hi, Chip. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to back up what Denise just said. So easily, I found that in a semester, I could easily handle, I just teach adjunct, so in the evening, so 2 online courses and even up to 3. But here in the, in the classroom, but here in this remote environment, it easily takes me 3 to 4 times the amount of work to do a remote class as it did to do an online class. So I can only handle 1. And maybe later on, maybe next semester I can handle 2. But for right now, I'm overwhelmed with just 1 class. I got 41 students right now, and I'm overwhelmed. I mean, it's all I can do to keep up with the class.
Can I add one more thing? So we don't want to scare everybody away. Everyone's panicking right now. But it does get easier because rather than building from scratch, like some had to do, you're tweaking and you're reviewing. And it's like Alessandra said, you're looking for the new technology and the new tools. So it does get easier over time, but it's still, you have to be there. You have to be present with your online class, even though you're not actually there. You have to be there.
Indeed. That's what I was going to emphasize is, Chip, I think that so many people are having that same experience, but it does get a little easier. It never gets all the way easy, but hang in there. Denise and I have both been teaching online for a long time, and we have shared to each other how tired we are doing all of our classes online, but you do develop more efficient ways of doing it. And there's a light somewhere towards the tunnel.
If I could give an analogy really quickly as a visual person, it's sort of like the difference between driving an automatic and driving a stick shift. Because in a stick shift, you got, you have to use everything, right? Your legs, your arms, you got to watch and steer. But you're right. Once you get into a groove, then, it does get easier. So, I do agree with that. I know Blythe has something to say, but I thought that would be an analogy people might,
That's a good one. And Blythe, did you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just going to acknowledge that. But also I feel like one of the myths that I've really experienced is moving totally dance online is that it's a one-way street. I'm taking all that I've learned in the classroom, in the studio, putting it on to both asynchronous and synchronous platforms online. But what I'm realizing more and more, so to counteract that myth, is that a ton of research and video content and images and online articles that I'm filling into my classes for content, I'm going to take with me back into the studio. So it's not just me pulling and kind of surviving these next couple semesters, but really, bolstering my entire library of information so that I can be a better teacher in the studio as well.
Can I add one thing I'm going to take back? Because you're the Zoom office hours. I think when we go back to campus, I'm going to keep the Zoom office hours and have office hours on campus, because I find that some students who don't want to come to my office are asking to meet me via Zoom, and they keep their camera off, which is fine, because then I can still talk to them. And I think because a lot of students have that anxiety about going to see their professors. Zoom made it so much easier. I'm spending a lot more time in office hours than I have, but it's for the students, and they feel like they can talk and come and approach me with any issue that they had. So Blythe, I wanted to add, that's something I'm going to take back to campus. I'm going to keep the Zoom office hours.
So coincidentally, we are in the process of answering a question that happens to be in the Q&A. So I kind of just want to keep with that. So Denise was just saying what she would take from her online learning into her in-person classes. So is Blythe. And that's the question we have from Tony here. So I want to just ask a few other people that question. So Katie, would you spin just the name?
Yes, spinning just the name.
Okay.
And so Walker, what did you find that you learned in your online teaching experience that you'll take back when we're back in in-person classes?
Well, I definitely, I agree with the last speaker, not Blythe, but the other one. I definitely do Zoom online for the ones who don't want or cannot because of their working hours, use the Zoom. But there's so many things. I was listening to everybody. I wanted to just jump in and say, I mean, I think of tearing up all of my way of thinking. Now, when I go back, hopefully we will go back, I say to myself, well, just tear up all of your things you used to think of, all right? When it comes to the old thinking, and it was the old thinking, you going into a classroom, be prepared. Well, this is, as I was hearing all the other was saying, this is not just being prepared. It's like thinking of other things to help the students understand. And I agree, I believe it was Blythe that said that, even the students are smarter than we are when it comes to online. That's my belief. They know, they're the first one. I have 2 classes, God bless me. And it does, like the young man said, it takes a lot of time, but I was saying about, like, they find the errors. They tell you, they're like, you want to check this, you want to check that. Are you aware of this and that and the other? So I also think that not only is the way of thinking, but I have educated myself, and that was a very proud moment for myself. I changed my whole attitude of way of learning just in class. Now I have to think like a student, not just being respectful and being in the student's shoes, but repeat. This is what my buddy said. Repeat yourself, repeat, because you may have it done in another particular day, but this is on an entirely different day. So go ahead and repeat it again. So now when I'm inputting, and I really have the majority of them, all of it is inputted in my asynchronous, but on my remote class, it's not, because I said, oh, it's remote, I can catch up, and I have. But I learned that you have to really think like a student from a student's point of view. And I have learned so much, guys. I mean, I've heard everyone speak. I've learned about announcing, and not just, hey guys, are you aware you got 3 hours before it's creating such, and I love creation. I teach a lot of the creative class, but it's believing that they will understand, and their feedback. My very first discussion was last week, and was feedback. What do you think? And oh my goodness. And I had them ask, not only if you didn't make it, it's okay. That's just one error. But give me feedback. Where did you get your help from besides me? Some of discussion was about them. And they're more concerned about them or they're doing okay. And then me saying, well, there's a toddler who's throwing a fit. What you do? They want feedback from others too. And I really learned a lot from Mesa Buddies. Very well.
So on that excellent note, thank you, Walker, so much for that. We have a few images that our participants shared with us, some screenshots of things that they made. So we're going to transition over to that now for just our last few minutes.
Chip, do you want to talk about this that you shared with us?
Yes, I do. So that's the Padlet. And that's probably one of the best things. I learned how to use Canvas. I learned how to use it to a certain extent. But by the time it was the classes were going to open, this is one of the things I made when I was in Mesa Buddies. I made this Padlet, and I was like, I was feeling like I was in a hole. I was lost. I was flying blind. I don't know what the heck's going to happen, but I was really sort of down in the dumps. And then I had this on my Canvas course. So I went and opened it, and I found, lo and behold, all these students had put inputs into it. So it was a real emotional experience. It boosted my spirits and got me to go into the class and start things on a positive note.
I love that you included a picture with Bella, your dog.
Yeah.
We have another example, and we're a little bit short on time, but I think we've got time. Alessandra, you want to share about your modules you created?
Yes. So in spring, when we quickly moved to teaching remotely, my Canvas shell was a disaster. I had organized the modules by subject, which maybe was not so bad, but I think students, I had left everything in there, and it was hard for the students, I think, to find things and navigate. They were very kind, but it was hard. And so what I learned in the buddies and also through the certification course was to organize things by week. And I have an orientation module with all of the things that they will need. And then I have every week the material that we will be covering. I record my Zoom lectures and I upload them the day that I do them so that students can go back and review them. I also have a discussion every week, which is fabulous. And the students really look at the material in each module, weekly module, carefully and answer those questions. And I feel that they are really engaged with the content. So this is one of the things that I will maintain when we go back to in-person teaching. I will still use Canvas as a way to keep students engaged and also as a repository of content and other materials. So I think this has been really amazing and wonderful, and the students are following really well now.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And Blythe, do you want to share about these discussion examples you shared?
Yeah, I found that the discussions have been, especially maybe this past week, really deep and engaging. And I think perhaps students having time to think about their answers and their responses before it goes out, rather than live discussions in person. So I've kind of gotten into this discussion, and I too, Alessandra, I have an 8-week course, so they often have 2 discussions each week because of the condensed nature. But some of the fun ones that I have done recently, this is a historical ballet tweet. So we have a list of historical ballet characters that we learned about in the asynchronous recorded lectures. And then they had to create a handle and a little like comical tweet. And most of them were, I was like laughing out loud, you know, the language and like, hey girl, feeling cute today. And then they would find this like 1700s line drawing of a ballet master. So just really clever. And then they had to respond in that same jargon. And so that was really fun. And I think, again, I'm trying to like relate this content of these old white men in some cases to something fresh and engaging for today. So they had to learn about it to speak about the voice accurately, but also have a little fun with it.
That's cool. I like it. Do you want to mention this one as well?
Oh yeah, on the side there, thank you. Yeah, and then this other one, so again, kind of making it relevant has been a theme for me. So sticking with ballet, which we did a couple weeks ago, the students were asked to read one article from each of these 3 categories. So looking at ballet through, and these are news articles, so kind of like that first person reflective experience, looking at ballet in terms of diversity and race. And then the middle one there is a list of body image related articles. And then the last 3 bullets there are gender related articles. So taking that topic of ballet, asking them to dig a little bit deeper about content and experiences they have either personally had or very much a part of being a young adult in our world right now. And then writing reflective answers that kind of make comprehensive the knowledge that they absorbed, and then reflecting on, maybe they shared a personal story, and a lot of them were really honest and open about own like prejudices that they had experienced, as well as yeah, just some really that openness. Maybe the being behind the curtain makes you more open to sharing as well. And then also with all my discussions, I have at least 1, 2, maybe 3 responses that are required, but the support that the students shared for this kind of personal openness and shared experiences was really wonderful to hear. So creating that online community, you know, personalizing it, right? You know.
Yeah.
So those are a couple, and I'm loving these discussions, and this is something I'm going to take with me back into the hands-on world.
Thank you so much, you guys, for sharing these examples of the hard work that you put into your course design. I know we've got people who are probably looking at, you know, reaching out to find out more about these ideas that you're sharing. So I do want to move us forward and back into kind of the last portion of our slides here. Let me move these things out of the way because we've only got 5 minutes left. That went by so quickly. So what's ahead in terms of these conversations, right? These teaching conversations. We do have our buddies cohort number 2, which we have, the application is still open. So at bit.ly/Mesa Buddies, you can still apply to join our second cohort, which begins on Monday. We are focusing on our newbies for that cohort, as you heard me say, but go ahead and submit an application. And then for folks who have applied, you should be getting your welcome letter on Friday. And then we'll be getting going in our next cohort on Monday. Also, there is the Mesa Loft Badge Program. So for folks who are looking for, you know, learning about video tools, learning about like Screencast-O-Matic is in there. We've also got the Zoom. We've got a new Canvas Essentials badge. So Mesa Loft Online will give you access to the Loft Badge Program inside of a Canvas course. It's another way to kind of get that student experience. Teaching Tree is another space. It's a new space that's opened this semester, really, to continue the teaching conversations. So we've had a lot of really great folks or conversations with folks in our bit.ly/Mesa College Teaching Tree. It is a Canvas show where we're putting ideas. You can ask ideas of other faculty at Mesa. How are you guys doing group projects? What are people doing about Zoom? Breakout rooms, I mean, all sorts of, you know, and you get connected to our buddies who are in cohort 1 and anybody else. I know there's a lot of action on that pronto queue. So that's a great place to reach out for teaching questions. The Statewide Academic Senate, our Mesa Pathways group is sponsoring some of our folks to attend that. So that's happening October 8th and 9th. It's virtually, so that'll be continued professional learning. CanvasCon is free and fully online on October 15th. That's bit.ly CanvasCon Reg. And our Catalyst online. So we've had Catalyst before with it's our one-day teaching conference. That's usually the Wednesday before spring convocation. It will be online in January. And so stay tuned for more on that. We're also looking at putting together another cohort similar to buddies, but on a different topic. So maybe we reach out to our buddies graduates and we ask, you know, what's the next kind of cohort-based learning opportunity that you all need. And then finally, a 4-credit online teaching certificate. So we are starting the process of developing a 4-credit online teaching certificate at Mesa, right? So this would be a series of credit-bearing classes around online pedagogy, andragogy, equity, technology, right? So another space where these conversations can continue to happen around good teaching. So, and in that case, it would allow for earning credits toward salary advancement. So that's exciting as well. And with that, we will say thank you very much for being a part of our village, for all the support. You know, our campus leadership has supported buddies, and it's been really amazing to be a part of it. It is truly, although it was a lot of work this summer, it was also very much the highlight of my summer. I'm gonna stop share, and a big time thank you for our buddies, participants, for being available to share their experience and their perspective today on this panel. So I'm grateful to each and every one of you. I know, oh, and Pam's here. If Isabel or Pam or Lorenze, anyone wants to close us out, I open the floor to you. Pam, you're muted. Pam, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I've had dogs in and out, so got to be careful. So just don't tell the folks I was in a meeting with before this, but you look fabulous over YouTube. And was listening with closed captions as much as I could. So thank you everyone for this today. And I am inspired. I think I've shared with you, I too am teaching online this semester in my class at San Diego State. And it is a challenge and a half to do the work, but I would never want to scare anyone away from it, because there have definitely been moments where we captured the kind of learning that I don't think we would have captured if we'd been in the room together. And so I think there's always wonderful things to learn from this, from all the different experiences that our students get to have. But I just want to thank all of you for doing this today. And I'm excited. I hope maybe more folks will sign up for this next cohort. I know that first one was huge. And if I had time, I would totally be in Mesa Buddies, because I have so much to learn. I got an email at noon today saying the assignment I had posted, something wasn't working. And so, you know, you got to go fix it, right? Because your students want to do their work. But thank you so much. And I really look forward to hearing more as we continue to do this. And I think one of the things that I'm excited about is the generative discussions we're having around what we're learning right now, and how as we move out of the health pandemic, at least that we're in, that we were looking towards transforming and innovating and really taking what we're learning back into our classrooms. And yes, we will be back together again physically on our campus. And when we are, we will be changed. Our students will be changed, and we will embrace what we're going through now and make this Mesa College an even better place for our students to have the successes that they need. So I want to say thank you. Thank you to Lorenze and Ashanti and Isabel for your updates today. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
And there is no truth without